Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Getting Started with TradeStation series. Today, we're going to highlight the TradeStation Desktop, and we're going to get to the platform in just a moment. And I want to welcome everyone that took some time out of your schedules to be here and learn a little bit about TradeStation. We have a small class today, so it's a great opportunity for you guys to ask questions related to the TradeStation platform. So feel free to use the chat window. I know that Manolo is actively using it now. Manolo is is my colleague, and he's going to be moderating today's class. If you need anything from the website, maybe a link that you lost or something, he's going to be standing by to answer any of your questions. But in the meantime, as I present all the functionality of the TradeStation platform, this is a great opportunity for you to, ask questions about things that you want to learn about, or maybe things that you've tried to do on the TradeStation platform and haven't been able to do so. For those that are joining us for the first time, my name is Jesus Nava. I'm the director of client training and education for TradeStation Securities, and it's always a pleasure for me to talk about TradeStation. We usually don't provide support via email, although we meet here every single week, not only on a getting started kind of setting, but also in a masterclass where we talk about more advanced topics of the TradeStation platform. For now, the masterclass is delivered on Tuesdays, and the Getting Started class is on Wednesdays. And on Wednesdays, we do something that I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but we rotate our trading platforms and highlight one every single Wednesday. It doesn't mean that you cannot ask questions about other platforms, because that's what we're here for, to make sure that you can get answers to your questions. But today we're going to highlight the TradeStation Desktop. And I'm not sure how long you've been in here with TradeStation, but one thing that I wanted to mention is that we, as a broker, we provide you different ways in which you can place trades and monitor orders and positions. We have specifically, with your TradeStation login, you can access three different platforms. The desktop, which is the one we're going to highlight today. We also have the web trading platform, which I think we talked about last week. No, maybe not. And we have the mobile app. By the way, Manolo's also going to share a link with the archives to the Getting Started. So if you came here looking for instructions on how to use a particular platform, and it's not the desktop, the one that I'm going to show today, you can always watch an archive presentation on the platform that you're looking, to receive education on. So yeah, that link right there. And also, Manolo, make sure that you title those links so that somebody that comes back knows exactly what the link is for. So the top one is our masterclass archive link. And we have some, masterclass presentations there. And on the second one is our Getting Started Archives video link. You can go there and watch any older presentation, okay? Um, so yeah, that's our class today. No, I don't mean to say it, saying goodbye to you. No, I mean that's the introduction for today. Let's go ahead and go through some disclosures so that we're aware of these. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradeStation. Also, active trading is not suitable for everyone, and past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. If you need additional information on these disclosures, please visit our website, www.tradestation.com/important-information. That's a link to our disclosures, and you can read a little bit more about them. For those that are options traders or futures traders, we have corresponding disclosure links towards the bottom. In case we do an example on options or futures, you also need to be aware of the risks of trading those assets, okay? Let me switch over to my TradeStation platform. And I see Charles has submitted some questions here. Thank you for that. Let me just glance at the questions here and see if we can address those in class today. And if not, we'll stay a little bit longer after class so that we can address every single question, okay? We're going to talk about how to access symbols. We're going to talk about indicators. Hmm. All right. Okay. Okay, so there's a lot of questions there. As we go through the presentation, if you can, and I see, Najera's questions as well. So if let's do something, I'm going to go through the content of the Getting Started class for the benefit of those that are just getting started. And then we can hang around and I'll tackle every single question that is there. If you find that I am covering a topic that is related to the question that you have, then we can address it then and remind me right here in the chat. But rather than me going on a tangent and addressing questions, we'll leave those to the very end, and I'll make sure that everyone gets answers to their questions. Okay. This is TradeStation Desktop, by the way. I have it installed on my computer. This is not the type of platform that you pull up on a web browser. That is what web trading is for. Web trading is a kind of a limited and simplified version of TradeStation. It doesn't let you do a lot of the things that you're going to find you can do with a TradeStation desktop, but it's still a very robust platform. So I'm not sure how many people here have used the web trading platform, but if you have, you probably felt that is a little bit simplified, which may be okay to a lot of traders. Maybe you just need to pull up a single chart and you have a watch list and then you have your trade bar at the very top. Maybe that's all you need. You don't need all the fancy tools and sophisticated tools that are on the TradeStation desktop. And a lot of traders are okay with that. And they'd rather, use a simplified version of TradeStation because it's simpler and it just looks nicer and more modern. Whatever the reason may be, it's up to you to decide which platform you're going to do your trading on. Now, of course, if you're looking for the more advanced features, the ones that have that are considered sophisticated in terms of what they allow you to do in terms of scanning and charting and all that sort of things, then the desktop is the place you want to be. One way that I see them is that our desktop, our web trading, and our mobile app, they all complement each other. Many times you're not going to be sitting in front of your desktop. You may be, traveling or visiting friends or whatever, and you want to access your account. You don't have to install TradeStation. You can just pull up a browser and access your account that way. So a lot of times other applications are going to come very handy when you're, on the go, especially the mobile app. You can access your account on the phone. I mean, whether it's Android or iOS, I think that is really fascinating. Okay. But this is the TradeStation desktop. The way that I'm looking at it right now is the way that it would pop up for anybody that's just installed it. And it gives you a little dialogue with everything that's new. Recently, we released a new update to TradeStation. I'm not sure if you've seen those prompts, but anytime that there's a new version of TradeStation, when you log in, it's going to prompt you to update. And it'll go through the update and it'll apply it automatically. And this is just a dialogue telling you, what's been changed. I went through a lot of the things that were changed on this particular version, and it seems like our developer or our development team was really busy doing a lot of things because they did fix a lot of things that were issues on the platform. So you can go through, some of these items just to be aware of what's been upgraded and whatnot. Okay, so let me get out of this little dialogue. You can also, access the what's new right here at the bottom right. So if you don't have that dialogue, you have a section for that. Over here on the left, we've created a series of videos that highlight, different platform features. So let's say, for example, that you're interested in trading from a chart. There is a video here called number 8 here, place and manage trades using chart trading. And you click there and it loads the video here showing you that functionality. So this is it's a new series. It's going to be expanded to 18 different videos. Right now, there's 11 here. So check this drop down periodically to access those videos. The videos that are here on the left-hand side can also be accessed through the TradeStation YouTube channel. So make sure that you visit us there as well. At the bottom left, you have workspaces. You're going to see that in a lot of my classes, I start workspaces from scratch. A lot of times I just want to show you how to create things, how to organize things yourself so that you're not, restricted to what's been provided to you. The workspaces that I see in TradeStation, I see them as examples. If you're having difficulty trying to vision or visualize what your trading desktop may look like, yeah, you can open up one of the recommended workspaces here and use it as a template, and then maybe organize it, to your liking and make it your own. So that's how I see workspaces at the bottom, or the ones that are built in to the TradeStation desktop. We're going to create workspaces from scratch, and that's the way we're going to tackle it. But do not overlook the fact that we provide examples just in case you're having issues setting up your templates. Right here in the middle, we have social feed. Anytime we post in Twitter, this should update. Although if you have Twitter on your phone, then it'll update there. Or should I be calling it Twitter or X, right? So you can also access it in your phone, and you can follow TradeStation for anything that TradeStation posts on social media. Okay, and over here on the right, we have an updated calendar of events. Today is August 30th, so you can see this is the class that we have today, and you have the upcoming 2 classes here that you can also register directly from the TradeStation desktop. Events are going to be also available on TradeStation.com. Manolo, if you're kind enough, can you give us a link to the events page on TradeStation? Make sure you title it, TradeStation events, so that you know what information or what events are upcoming, and you can register for those if you'd like to do so. Okay. Thank you so much, Manolo. All right, perfect. Let's go ahead and open up a workspace here. There's a little plus at the bottom left of my desktop. And as soon as I click it, this is an untitled workspace. We can pretty much put anything we want in here. I'm going to go through 3 main applications in TradeStation. I think we should talk a little bit about charting, talk a little bit about scanning, and also talk a little bit about trading. So let me pull up a chart. I'm going to go here to apps and go to chart analysis. You can see that there's a dozen different applications here that you can use, and everyone will open up its own little window inside of the workspace. Make sure that you explore. If you have any questions about any of these applications, there's a lot of documentation on the help files. You can get a brief summary of what the application does. So don't overlook also the help files right here at the help menu of TradeStation. You go to get help, and platform trading gives you a whole bunch of topics related to the TradeStation platform. And you can, look for assistance there as well. So apps, chart analysis, let me open that up. All right. Let me resize it so that it fills the whole screen. Right here, I have a chart of Apple, and you can see that it's set to 5 minute. We have a little time frame drop down. You can click on daily if you want to see a daily chart of Apple or any other time frame. A lot of times I don't really use a time frame drop down. I like to use shortcuts, and for that I use the command line. The command line is a little window that pops up in the middle of the TradeStation platform, and it allows you to type in commands. And the commands can be changing the symbol, changing the time frame, changing the amount of historical data, and all other sort of macros that you can create, which we're not going to talk about today. Maybe if we have time at the very end of the presentation, but the command line is pretty handy when it comes to making changes to the chart. So if I wanted to see a chart of something different other than Apple, let's say that I want to see a chart of Tesla, I just type in, notice that I haven't even clicked on the platform. I'm just going to press the keys on my keyboard, TSLA, and all of a sudden the command line shows up. Did I miss? Yeah, I mistyped it. You can see the command line pops up automatically. So as soon as you press keys on the keyboard, it'll come up. You see TSLA right there in the symbol box. Hit enter, and it changes the chart to Tesla. So changing the symbol in any application is exactly the same. You just type in the symbol on the keyboard, TradeStation takes it, and it changes the symbol on the application. If you want to change the time frame, very similarly, let's say that I want to see a 5 minute chart of Tesla. I type in 5 space MIN. Take a look. The command line pops up automatically. And whatever I typed in the keyboard shows up inside the command line. 5 space MIN, short for minute. I hit enter, and I'm looking at a 5 minute chart of Tesla. If I press the down arrow key on my keyboard, down arrow key and up arrow key, make sure that you locate them on your keyboard, they will expand and compress the chart view. So if I want to see more historical data, I do the down arrow. Notice that it squeezes everything to the point where I have all this open space on the right-hand side. The chart in TradeStation doesn't automatically load historical data. So when you open up a 5-minute chart of Tesla, for example, you only get 5 days of history. Now, most likely you'll need more, especially if you want to see more historical data. Here I only see 5 days. I'm going to load 30 days of data, and I'm going to use the command line to put in that request. And all I need to do is type in 30 space days. Notice that I press the keys, the command line shows up right there in the middle of the screen, and in there I have 30 space days. I hit enter, and that's a historical data request. I'm not sure if you noticed, but there was a PD, the top left corner. There's a very small PD that shows up that stands for pending data. If you see that yellow, it's because the TradeStation chart is downloading data in the background. Just let it do its download. It'll try to download, small packets so it doesn't conflict with your internet bandwidth, and it'll just get all you all the data that you requested. So now I can squeeze the chart all the way that it goes using the down arrow key, and now I can see more historical data on the chart. You see the time frame right here at the bottom. You can see that on July 20th, Tesla was trading at 280. Today is trading at 254. And since July 20th, which is the oldest date that I have here, Tesla has been down to 213. So yeah, there's been a lot of price swings here in Tesla, very volatile. It's changing a lot, and we can see that on the chart very nicely. Okay. Andre, I see your question about funding your account. Yes, it is. It is what we require from clients. Yeah, you need to fund an account in order to use a simulator. The trading simulator is only available to TradeStation clients. So once you have a funded account with TradeStation, then you have access to the trading simulator. That's the way that everybody, had to do it. So if it was inconvenient, I apologize, but that's just the way that it is at TradeStation. So let's go ahead and so we talked about changing the symbol. We talked about changing the spacing between the candles. And we also talked about changing or adding historical data. Let's go ahead and so to your point, Andre, because I'm just trying to think here of other reasons why TradeStation would do that. I can see the point where, yeah, it'd be very nice for you to test the software on a trading simulator before you jump on the bandwagon, and join TradeStation. And many years ago, because I've been with TradeStation for a little bit over 23 years. But many years ago, we did have that ability where you could just use TradeStation as a trial. We provided you like a 14-day trial to use it. You can, test the functionality and then decide whether you wanted to use it or not. But yeah, right now, the only way that you can get access to the platform per se and the trading simulator is by funding an account. Okay, let's get to other functionality here. Let's go ahead and open up some drawing tools and some indicators that is going to enhance your market analysis. Okay, so we already pointed out that Tesla is trading at 253. We see that earlier today, it kind of got near 250. Let's say, for example, that you're kind of bearish on Tesla and you want to be notified if it drops below 250. So what you do is you come over here to drawing, click on horizontal line. I'm going to come over here to 250. I'm going to click and hold my mouse pointer because I want to bring it down here to 250. Now, I'm not sure this will probably happen to you at one point, but notice that I'm trying to bring my line down to 250 and it doesn't want to come down to 250. You can see that it's kind of attaching to the candles. As I go across the chart, it doesn't follow my cursor. It's pretty much attached to that's attached to the candle. That's called snap mode. And that's something that I have turned on that I can disable. But if you find that you're drawing something on the chart and it doesn't follow your cursor, it's kind of attached to the candles, just remember that there's a feature here called snap mode. Go to the drawing menu, and disable it. It's right here, snap mode. Now, as soon as I disable it, I can grab that line and I can bring it down to $250. You know, sometimes depending on the scale, it may be a little bit challenging to drop it right at 250. You can see that I did my best here and I drop it at 250.01, which is close, but not quite. What if I wanted to have my line right at 250? Well, what you can do is double click on the line, go to settings, sorry, not settings, go to data, and right here it tells you the price that the line is anchored to. And I can go in here and type in the price that I want. So don't stress if you cannot drop it exactly where you want it. You can always double click on the horizontal line and enter the price at which you want that line to display. All right, my line is there. I'm going to double click again. I should have just showed you what I wanted to do here. What I want to do here is turn alerts on. So alerts, enable the alert, because this is what's going to make that line hot so that if the price activity touches it, you're going to be alerted. Right here, I want the alert to be once per bar, because I mean, if it happens every single tick, then the alerts are going to get a little bit annoying. So make sure that you use the right behavior here. And I'm also going to do not only intra bar, because intra bar, you get the alert if the price touches the price. But what if there is a big gap and it jumps the line? It's not really touching it. So if I want to be notified on a gap, I have to change the behavior here to break out intra or interbar. So if there's a scenario where the line is in between two lines or interbar, then I also want to be alerted. Okay, I can configure my messaging by clicking on the configure button here. So you can change the sound, you can change, the pop-up window, you can even set up an email alert if you want to. But that's it. That's the way that I can do a simple alert right here on the chart. And as soon as the price activity touches that line, I'm going to be alerted, which makes it a very great way, or a very great use of the horizontal line. Okay. And you can do the same thing with trend lines. You can do the same thing with any of the Fibonacci tools, the regression channels, whatever drawing tool is it the one you want to use, you can double click on it and turn on the alert so that if there is a touch on any of the lines of that drawing tool, you're going to be alerted, okay? Let's go ahead and use or add a study. Studies in TradeStation are in the studies menu. You go to add study, okay? We're going to use one as an example. There's a multitude of different studies in TradeStation, and you can try them all. If you're not really familiar with something that comes up here, let's say that we want to see what let's see, we see something called caught net position. Not really familiar with it. You want to know what it is, then you have a definition button here on this dialog that opens up documentation on TradeStation explaining what the indicator does. Okay, so don't feel like you need to come to class to learn about these studies, because there's a lot of documentation explaining what these studies do. So click on any of the ones that catch your eye and then go to definition. We'll probably have a lot of explanation on that study. I'm going to use a moving average 2-line just as an example. Something simple. I'm going to click OK and notice how the study goes on the chart. All studies in TradeStation have default parameters. Whatever parameters were designed or built into the study, those are the ones that are going to come up. If I want to choose my own parameters, I have to change them. Now I can double click on the lines and it takes me to the customize indicator dialog. You've noticed that I like double clicking on stuff. So if I want to double click, if I want to modify the horizontal line, I double click on it. If I want to modify the moving averages, I double click on them. But you can also go to studies and edit studies if you want to. That would be a longer way because you have to go through the menus to highlight the study and customize it. So I would rather just double click on the study and it takes me to customize indicator. Just be careful that if you miss a line and you double click on the background, it'll take you to customize window. It's a different customizing window, but just be aware of that. If you don't find your customization settings, it's probably because you're in a different dialog. If you want to customize the study, double click on it and make sure that it's the customized indicator. So what I was trying to say is that every study in TradeStation, you can modify. So I'm going to come here to inputs, and I can change the length for these studies. Let's say that I want to compare a 30 period versus a 60 period. I change the fast to 30 and the slow to 60. Notice how those two values I can change. I click OK, and now the two moving averages are recalculated. Now it's not using the 9 and 18 that is the default. It's using, 30 and 60, which is the ones that I provided. Romic is asking, does TradeStation allow you to do exponential moving averages? For sure, yes. If you go to studies and add studies, in the list of moving averages, you're going to find the exponential ones right here. So we have a few exponential moving averages that you can test. You can see that for Tesla in a 5-minute time frame, the moving averages are getting closer and closer. Everybody sees that? So the fast, which is my cyan, on this downtrending market, because in the last 3 bars, it's the price of Tesla has been down. 10 minutes ago it was at 256, now it's at 252. We have our horizontal line here at 250. So there may be a possibility that those two lines cross, the fast cross under the slow. And that is a bearish signal on those moving averages. Now I can sit here and wait for those two lines to cross, or I can set up an alert so that TradeStation tells me, hey, there is a crossover on the moving averages. Let's watch out. What I can do is double click on those two moving averages. And all I need to do is come here to the alerts and enable the alert. So this is very similar to what we saw in the horizontal line, because alerting is very simple in TradeStation. All you need to do is turn it on. By default, everything is turned off, because we don't want to scare people off with sirens and pop-up messages that come up automatically. So if you do want to get a notification, if you do want to be scared off with a siren going off, then you have to come in here and enable the alert. If I enable the alert, of course, I choose how I want to be alerted. Maybe alert once per bar. Maybe I want to change the sounds. Whatever I want to do, I can do it here. Click OK. And there it is. My alert is enabled. I can leave this workspace open in the background, because it has to be open in order for the alert to be triggered. But I can go on to something else. I can open up another workspace and start doing some other stuff. If the two moving averages on that Tesla chart cross, I'm going to hear the sound, and I'm going to see the pop-up message at the bottom of my platform letting me know that there's been a crossover on those two moving averages. That's pretty cool. And that is something that is built into every study in TradeStation. And you don't have to program the alerts. I mean, that's already built into the study. All you need to do is turn on the alert, and that's it. We'll make sure that we monitor it for you. Andrea is asking, can you change the axis tick value on this Tesla chart? Yeah, you can see that on my Tesla chart. My scale here on the right-hand side, it's showing every $2, right? That's what you mean, right? And you want to change it to 0.5. Yes, there's a lot of customization you can do on the scale and how the chart looks. Now, the scale, or the price scale, let's call it that. The price scale adjusts automatically as you increase the bar spacing. So right now I'm showing a 2, but if I increase, I'm just pressing the up arrow key here, and I increase my bar spacing. Notice that now my scale is showing an increment of 0.5, which is what you're looking for, Andre. So it happens automatically for you. However, let's say, for example, that I'm back at this level, and I'm still seeing an increment of 2, and I'd like to add a little bit more detail. Maybe I won't be able to squeeze a 0.5, but maybe I want to do a 1 point instead of a 2-pointer. One thing that you can do, and this is something a little bit more a deeper dive, a lot of exploring, but it allows you to customize your chart exactly the way you want it. I'm going to double click on one of the candles here and go to the scaling tab, because in the scaling tab, we have a checkbox here that says custom axis increment. I can come here. I don't think it'll take the 0.5, but let's see. I'm going to leave it at 0.5 and see what happens. And when I say that it won't take it, it's because of space, Let's go ahead and see and click OK. Oh, no. See, it changes, my decimals to 0.5, but you can still see the increment is just $1. That's because of space. It's not able to fit that granularity on the scale. So instead of doing a 0.5 here, I would just do 1 point, so that it changes those prices to even prices. So you do have that little checkbox that allows you to customize how the scale looks. Okay. All right. You're welcome, Andre. Let's go here onto my second workspace, because what I want to show you now is some scanning capabilities. We were talking about, Tesla and how it's prone to drop a little bit. There's a little bit of hesitation here in price. We started off at 254, went down to 251, went up to 256, then down to 252. It seems like it's going up again. So there's a lot of hesitation in price. We're not really clear in which direction, the price is going to go today. It may go down, it may go up, so as a trader, you're looking at things like this and you're saying, okay, is it time to trade? Is it not time to trade? But it'd be interesting to find stocks or securities, because you can also do a scan on futures, that are currently crossing. Let's say that moving average is your thing, and that's your technical analysis, and that is what you base at least the mode of the market. So if you see a moving average crossover, then you start paying attention to that security and say, well, is it a good trading opportunity? And maybe you look at other technical indicators, you look at other things that are happening to that security and see if it's a candidate for trading. But to a certain extent, you want to know what symbols and what securities are crossing right now. That is what scanning allows you to do. It allows you to scan the universe of symbols and find the ones that have a certain characteristic, stocks that are doing something in the market that may be something that you consider a signal, at least to tell you what the mode of the market is, and then you can do some additional analysis. So rather than me sitting here, because I am maybe married to Tesla for some reason, rather than being here, let's look for other opportunities, other securities that may be showing us, interesting setups. Let me go here to this workspace. I'm going to go to apps and I'm going to open Radar Screen. Radar Screen is, Radar Screen is a great tool, very sophisticated, and it's fascinating the things you can do with Radar Screen. You can use it as a regular quotes window if that's what you want to use it for, which is totally fine. So let me go ahead and click on Radar Screen, because what it looks like is just a regular quotes window. Here we go. So I'm going to drag it down. Oh, did this? Okay, there we go. I'm going to drag it down so it fills this whole area on the left-hand side, because I also want to combine this with a chart. So I'm going to have like a quotes on the left and a chart here on the right. So I'm going to move my chart here and grab it by the corner. Okay. And right here inside my radar screen, I'm going to use a populated or a pre-populated list of symbols. I go to data, I go to add a symbol list. Notice that you have 3 main indexes here. It'll add the components of the index. So if you choose, for example, NASDAQ 100 index, it'll load up all the 100 symbols that make up the NASDAQ 100. The same with the S&P 500. It'll load the 500 symbols that make up the S&P 500 index. For this example, I'm just going to use the NASDAQ 100. All right. And this chart here on the right-hand side, I'm going to change it to a daily, because I want to do my scan on a daily time frame for whatever reason. And I want you guys to notice that Radar Screen also has an interval column. So when you add, we'll get to that in a little moment, but when you add technical studies to Radar Screen, it's going to use an interval for the calculation. Let me show you what I mean by that. Bid, ask, high, and low, I don't need. So I'm going to click and drag over these 4 columns and press delete. What I want, let me add an additional column here. And when you go here into the studies for Radar Screen, you're going to find the same charting studies that you find in a chart analysis, which is pretty impressive. So everything that has been built into a chart, you'll find here. So by me coming here and looking for a moving average 2-line, this is the one that I used in charting. I'm going to add it and put it right here inside my Radar Screen and click OK. By just putting it here, this moving average that I just added right here, the one that I'm highlighting, it's working on 100 symbols at the same time. So in a couple minutes, I was able to create 100 charts on all the stocks that make up the NASDAQ 100, and I'm monitoring the moving average of them. Let's take this one step further. I'm going to go here on the chart, go to studies, add studies. I'm going to put the same study in here, moving average 2-line. And let's go ahead and link the two windows together. These buttons that you find on the title bar allow you to link windows together. So I'm going to click on Apple. All right, Apple is showing me 186, 185. If you look at the values here on the chart, they're different. This is 179, 178. Why are they different? That's where the interval comes in. Right here on the chart, I'm looking at a daily bar. On the radar screen, I'm looking at 5-minute. So these 186 and 185, yeah, those are the moving averages, but on a 5-minute calculation. If I want my values to match, I need to change the interval for these symbols. So I'm going to highlight the symbols, go to time frame, and change these to daily. Now they show daily down the list. Now, if I look at Apple, you can see the 179 and the 178 are matching, the values here exactly. Okay, so interesting that Apple is crossing right now. So this would be a stock, that is crossing. The fast is crossing this low today, which is a bullish signal. So I'm sure if I turn on the filtering here and radar screen, Apple is going to be one of the stocks that are going to be pulled up. It's just a coincidence that we used it as an example and it's crossing today. But technically what I want TradeStation to do for me is to find all the symbols that are crossing right now. Now that is very helpful from a trader's perspective, for you to tell a software, find all the stocks that are meeting a certain criteria. I think it's very helpful. I'm going to right click here on the header for the moving average, go to studies and edit the moving average 2-line. And all I need to do is come here to the alerts and enable the alert. For this example, I want the alert to be continuous, but I'm going to disable pop-up messages and sounds. And I do that, and it's recommended that you do that when scanning for alerts in radar screen. That's what it says here in parentheses, because the least you want to do is to have radar screen firing off hundreds of alerts if there's a turn in the market overall, and you have all these symbols triggering alerts all at the same time. Now, that would be very annoying. Not only annoying to you because you're hearing all the sirens going off, but it's also taxing on your computer. For your computer to have to generate all these alerts tick by tick, it could get hung up doing so. So make sure that when you're turning on an alert on hundreds of symbols simultaneously, that you disable messaging so that all the alerts are visual rather than audible. As soon as I highlight this, I'm going to see little red markers on the right-hand side show me symbols that are triggering right now. Now I can scroll here and find them all, but notice that there's a red marker for Apple, the stock that we just pointed out. The second one right here is Align Tech, ALGN. We click it, notice how they're crossing today. But I don't want to, go through the list here and be scrolling up and down. I can use this filter bar at the top of my radar screen so that radar screen only focuses on the ones that are crossing right now. So for 100 symbols that I have in my radar screen, I can use this filter bar, filter by the moving average, select my alert, and only show me the ones that are true. So out of 100 symbols that are in the NASDAQ 100, we have 15 that are crossing right now. Maybe symbols that you hadn't thought about before. Here's we have Zoom video conferencing, the technology we're using right now, and you can see that there's a crossover today. It's a bullish crossover because the fast is moving above. That's one of the things that the moving average doesn't tell you. You can create a more enhanced moving average indicator that shows you, okay, this is a bullish and this is a bearish. But all these alerts, they can be either bullish or bearish. It's not telling you, so you'd have to pull up the chart to see what it is. For Zoom, it's a bullish alert. For Apple, we saw that it was bullish as well. Apple's right here. Let's go to Microsoft. Microsoft is bullish. So are all these bullish? Maybe. CrowdStrike is bullish. So it seems like all these are bullish signals. No bearish signals today. All right. Oh, is that a bullish or a bearish? That is still a bullish. This is kind of confusing, but if you notice this stock right here, let me open this up. You can see that there's a bearish crossover, one bar, and then it's a bullish crossover the next. So not very clear, but we still are in a bullish crossover. So all these are bullish. All right. Oh, yeah, same here. So yeah, scanning is a great way for you to look for opportunities in the market using any technical idea. So one of the things that I also want you guys to walk away from this class knowing is that you're not limited to what's supplied with TradeStation. This is a moving average two line, which is a simple technical idea supplied in many trading platforms. But the nice thing is that you can also bring in your own technical indicators, and TradeStation allows you to create your own technical indicators. So you can have something custom here that looks for specific scenarios and have radar screen monitor or scan the whole universe for that condition. Okay. Nagaraja is asking, can we use float as a filter here in radar screen or in hot list to create a watch list? I'm not sure that TradeStation provides float data. I would have to look into that. I'm not really sure. I think if I recall, I've seen that question before, and I think that back in the days I looked into float data, and I don't think that's a quote that we provide, like a data quote, or a data quote that you can do a scan on. So I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm sorry, Magaraja. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some trading functionality. Ideally, when you plan a trade, of course, you're thinking about the security you're trading. You're also thinking about the risk you're taking, how much of a profit target you want to have, and what exposure of the risks you can take. So these are all things that you've probably calculated every time you think of a trade. I'm going to enter at this price. If it goes up to this level, I'm going to get out, and maybe that level that you're considering, it's a a resistance level or whatever it is. Whatever calculations you do when you enter a trade, you're probably always thinking about how to get out of that trade, because as important getting in is, it's also important to know when to get out. So we think about all these things, and it'd be great for you to enter that trade all at once so that it becomes more efficient. And you're not really scrambling, every time that you put in a trade to put in a stop and to put in a target, because it's all inclusive and it's all planned out and it's all thought out. Let me go ahead and show you an example. I'm going to load up Verizon here. By the way, changing the symbol, you just type it in and it changes right here. This window that I'm showing to you right now, this is the matrix. Let's go ahead and open up a chart analysis also and put it here on the right-hand side, because the chart analysis is also going to show you a view of our orders. Okay. I'm going to put it right here as well. All right. So we have Verizon here. The blue are the buyers, red are the sellers. The numbers you see inside the blue and the red are orders that are waiting to get filled at each one of the price levels. So if I look at this price right here, 35.75, 34.75, we have 11,000 shares being sold at 34.75. So there is a lot of shares waiting there to get filled. We have a big order here as well at 34.80 with over 8,000 shares waiting to get filled at that level. So this is level 2. It's market depth. It tells you, what is the buying and the selling pressure on either side. So if you want to be a buyer of Verizon, you just have to come over here in the blue and join any of these groups. Unless you want to do a market order where you're not joining a group, you just want to get filled at whatever price is being traded at the moment. But let's say, for example, that I want to buy Verizon and I want to buy it, right below today's low. Today's low is 34.58. You can see it here graphically with the line. But I want to enter my order at 34.57, 1 penny below, so that as soon as we reach a newer low, I'm going to get in. Okay. And I'm also going to set a profit target of 20 cents and a stop loss of 10 cents. I'm thinking about offsets, if it goes up 20 cents, I can look at the security here, So if it comes down, to 34.57 down here, and then I'm looking for a 34.77 up here to get out. Very quick trade, within the capabilities of movement of Verizon. That's something that you have to take into consideration when putting targets and stops. And I'm putting in a very tight stop at 10 cents. And I'm using tight numbers so they can see them on the chart as well. Thinking about those offsets and how I want to enter the market, I can plan everything out here on the matrix. And I can say, all right, if I come here on the blue and I click on 30 on the blue for 34.57, it'll send an order to buy. But in addition to sending that order to buy, I want to send my order to sell, my target and my stop all in one trade. And I also want to trade 1,000 shares instead of 500. So I'm going to come here, change the quantity to 1,000. I'm going to check attach an OSO. This is the way that you are attaching exits to your entries. You have a drop down in case you want to branch your exits into multiple levels. I just want to use a simple bracket with one limit and one stop. That's the very top one. I'm going to click on the ellipsis here on the right-hand side, and I'm going to put in my offsets here. So I said that my limit would be 20 cents, and my stop, I'm going to leave it at 10 cents. And all I need to do is click OK. And now that I've set up my bracket, all I need to do is come here to the price that I wanted, 34.57, and click. This gives me the confirmation. You can see that it has a buy 1,000 up here. It has, in addition to that, a sell 1,000 and sell 1,000. It just lays out everything for you. Let me go ahead and disable this for this window for now. Confirmations are good, but a lot of times if you want your order entry to be quickly and no confirmation, you can disable that if you want to. And as soon as I do that, I have my orders in place. I don't see them on my chart because I have those turned off by default, but let me go ahead and turn them on. Because it's interesting how the chart also shows you those levels on the screen, because it's something to see them here inside of a matrix, and it's totally different when you see them here in charting, because you see your entry and exits in relationship to what's happened in the past. So this is a very nice way of trading where you have your entries and exits attached. If I want to get filled right now, let's say that I'm getting anxious here and I don't want Verizon to break the low of today. I just want to get filled right now. I know that the best selling price is 34.64 because I can see the orders sitting there. So if I drag my order and I drop it here at this level, I'm going to get filled immediately at 34.64. And notice how my target and my stop get adjusted accordingly. And here I see that information on the chart as well. I see my position at 34.64, my target and my stop, everything displayed on the screen. So hopefully you can use this functionality because it makes your trading all inclusive. So now that I've planned my target and my stop, I don't have to be glued to Verizon finding out what it's going to do, because I've accepted the terms of the trade. I've accepted the fact that if it goes up to 34.84, I'm in line to make about $200. But I've also accepted the fact that if it goes down to 34.54, that I'm losing $100, and I'm okay with that. And that's why I don't have to be stressed out about this trade. I still have to monitor it because a lot of things may happen, but I've already accepted the terms of the trade. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some questions. Let's see. From Jennifer. There's no naive question, Jennifer. Is the buyers and sellers are from TradeStation platform or from the whole stock market? That's a great question. The sellers and buyers that you see here, the data that you see here is data that comes directly from the exchange. So these are not just buyers and sellers of TradeStation. This is data that gets supplied to us In this case, Verizon trades in the New York Stock Exchange. So this is data that comes from the New York Stock Exchange, letting us know, hey, there's these group of orders or shares waiting at these levels. So all the data here is provided by the exchange. The TradeStation show you the margin you will be using as per your example. Andre is asking. In this particular case, this is a straight Verizon trade. And on the simulator, this simulator have close to $6 million. So margin is not, a concern. But if you're using margin, that doesn't get translated very easily on the front end. So you may not get a dialogue saying, hey, you're using margin here and you're using this much of a margin. But you just have to be aware of if your trades are using margin or not. So it's not really visible here in the front end. Okay, so let's go ahead and take your questions. I'm going to go and scroll to the very top because I did promise some of the guys that submitted questions at the very beginning that I would go through them. So let's go ahead and take one by one. We have a few minutes in class here, and I wanted to make sure that we addressed all the questions. So this is I'm gonna go back here to Charles' questions. Number one was ticker symbols. How do I access ticker symbols through the drop-down arrow on workspace? And how do I customize the list to about 5 to 10 ticker symbols of choice? Drop down on workspace. Okay, let's go ahead and look at a chart. I'm not sure if you're looking at this little drop down. Is that the drop down you're referring to, Charles? Because yes, this does not lend itself to provide you a list of symbols that you've used in history. However, let me show you a trick if you want to see such list of history. If you press any key on the keyboard, usually I press the space bar. Now it's trying to look up here. These are not symbols. Are these symbols that I've used recently? I don't know. It doesn't seem like they are. Okay, so rather than clicking on you get the command line, and in the command line, you go to this little drop down that gives you a list of history of symbols. So, sometimes we're looking at a symbol and we kind of forget, what was the symbol that I was looking at? This is a history of the symbol that I've looked at. And from here, I can click on any of these and load the chart right away. So again, press the space bar on the keyboard. We're not going to use the first drop down. The first drop down includes not only symbols, but also commands. So if I do a time frame change or historical day request, those will be included here. If you click on the other button, the next button over, the one next to the magnifying glass, you see a list of 10 symbols that you've used and 10 time frames that you've used in history. So that'll help you a little bit. All right, and let's see. Also, I cannot fit more than 2 indicators below my chart. What am I doing wrong? I'm not sure, about that, Charles, because you can fit as many indicators below. If I go to studies and add studies, let me see, look at indicators that are, for example, MACD. Let's do money flow, momentum. Those are indicators that will take up at the bottom. Let's see what else I can use here. I can continue to select symbols that go on its own subgraph and then click OK. And you can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 indicators on separate subgraphs. If it's not working for you, I would get the help of technical support and they can troubleshoot your platform. Okay, so let me remove some of these indicators. All right. All right. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at Awesome Oscillator. Studies, add studies. It's cool that there's an indicator called Awesome Oscillator, right? So there it is. Your question is, can I remove the solid balls and labels on Awesome Oscillator to get a clean indicator? So I suppose you're talking about those little dots that are applied at the top and at the bottom. For that, you'll have to edit the easy language. I haven't looked at the indicator easy language for Awesome Oscillator, but you can open it up. And I'm not sure what controls the dots here. Maybe, that is something I'll have to look into. That's not a a simple question to address, but we can definitely modify the code so that you don't have those dots. You can follow up with me later via email, Charles, if you'd like to do that. Okay. The same with the RSI indicator. If you're looking for a midline, we can talk about that as well. All right. We did talk a little bit about OSO and OCO in the matrix. Hopefully that clarified a little bit. Please let me know if you have additional questions about that. Okay, let's go here with Nagaraja. We did talk a little bit about float. Now, trailing stop is not enabled when I try to create a macro for hotkey. Trailing stops are not supported in macros. You have, let me just make sure of that. If I go to view, shortcuts, and macros, if I edit an order entry macro, let's say that I go here, the order specifications here don't allow you to do a trailing stop. So you only have a limit, market, stop limit, and stop market. So yes, as we said, no possibility of using trailing stops as a macro. And ask plus increment is not allowed in pre-market session. Any reason? Are you talking about the matrix, the axis increment here? Is that what you're talking about, Nagaraja? I'm not really sure what you mean by the ask. Oh, the plus increment, though you're talking about the hotkey. The reason is because probably the macro does not allow to use day plus. If you're using the pre-market, let me go here and edit a macro here. So you see, when you go into the order, there's no option here to do day plus. Let me go back here because this is for options. Let's do for equities. So you do have access to day plus, and I suppose you're using the ask plus something. That's something that I would have to test, Nagaraja. Please follow up with me via email if you'd like, and we can address those. Interesting. Those are questions on macro functionality. If you're interested in using macros for TradeStation, we have a class out there. I'm not sure, Manolo, if you have a link to the class that I did. It wasn't recently, but I did a class on macros and keyboard that I'm not sure if you can find and shared here with the class. Okay. Let me take a look at some other questions here. So Nagaraja, those matrix support trailing stop? Yes, you can do trailing stops in the matrix. Now here, I submitted a trade. Well, I have a position already open here for Verizon. Let me cancel my profit target and my stop loss by clicking these yellow buttons. And let's suppose that I want to do just a trailing stop. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to check the quantity. I do have 1,000 shares. I'm going to go to my trailing stop buttons, and I'm going to set my trailing stop at a 10-cent offset. So I'm going to do 0.0 or 0.1. And then I'm just going to hit the button that says sell trailing stop. And by doing that, let me just cancel for a moment here, because one thing you have to remember is to uncheck the attach OSO. If you don't uncheck it, it seems like every time you place a trade, you'll have a bracket attached. And I don't want to have that happen here. So I'm going to uncheck attach and then go back here to sell trailing stop. And as soon as I do that, the trailing stop is right there at 32.52. Why 34.52? Because the current price is 34.62. So it goes by the current trading price. But if Verizon starts coming up, my trailing stop should follow it at 10 cents. Okay. Gord, I see your question about how do you operate and use the floating and docking charts tool. I'm not sure what you mean by floating and docking charts. In TradeStation, if you open up a new workspace, you can have a chart analysis. Let me pull it up. You can click on its title bar and move it around. It's kind of a floating window. I'm not sure if that's what you refer to as a floating functionality. You can maximize the window here and have it full, take up the whole TradeStation workspace. You can restore the workspace by clicking on this little button on the top right corner and then have it back here as a floating window. So let me know if that's what you mean by floating and docking. Andre is asking, I have joined TradeStation due to futures. Can you quickly show how to roll over a future trade to the next month? Example, September to December. There is, in order for you to roll a futures trade on TradeStation, there's no easy roll like we have for options where you can just click on a trade and we have a roll option. Here you'd have to, close one and enter another. So manually placing a trade to close your September contract and then manually placing a second trade to put in a contract in December. But even if I think I have some futures contracts here, like, okay, I have yeah, right here you can see on my position graph bar, I have 3 contracts of the S&P E-mini. If I right click here, I have the ability to close. I have reverse, but I don't have the position to roll. So in this particular case, these are September contracts. If I wanted to buy December contracts, I would have to right click, close this at market, then maybe go to my trade bar for futures, go to ESZ23 is Z December. I believe it is. So I can buy those 3. Maybe if I want to buy them at market. Order fill. And I'm filled on those 3 contracts for December. So it's a manual process, but it can be done very quickly by just closing one and entering another. Okay. Question from Romic. Once you open a chart and show moving averages, how do you save it so that the chart always opens up with the moving averages? Okay. And remind me how you got the radar screen to display the NASDAQ list. Yes. On this workspace that I created where I have the 2 moving averages, now what I need to do is save the workspace. So I'm going to right click here on this workspace tab, and I'm going to make sure that I save it under a custom name. So if I do moving averages and then click on save, if you look at the tab, now it says moving average 2 lines. That is a workspace that's been saved to my desktop. So I can come over here at the very top, click on the X of TradeStation, shut it down. And when I pull it up, it should come up. Just make sure that if it doesn't, go to File, Preferences, Desktop, and in the Workspaces tab, this is done by default. TradeStation is set to open all workspaces from previous session. That's the way that TradeStation comes out of the box. My TradeStation is set to do not open any workspaces because that's my preference. But if you want the workspaces to open, make sure that it says open all workspaces from previous session. Again, that is File, Preferences, and Desktops. And you have a lot of functionality on how the workspaces work. And in Radar Screen, everybody has this as well. You go to the Data tab inside of Radar Screen, and you can add a symbol list. At the top of the menu, you have 3 main indexes. I use the NASDAQ 100, but you can go to other symbol lists. If you go to other symbol lists, you'll find lists for industry sectors and different ways in which TradeStation groups symbols together, so you don't have to type in symbols one by one, okay? All right. So, okay, so Marcel says you can open the input settings for the awesome indicator. Interesting. Let's go ahead and take a look again. Just a moment ago, I removed it from my chart. But let's see if Marcel is right. Let me double click on the indicator, go to inputs, and is there an input to show plot by? Here we go. Thank you, Marcel. So to the question on awesome indicator, remember we were talking about removing the dots. I didn't realize that there's an input that allows you to turn them off. So we have plot by setup dots, plot cell setup dots. If we turn these two to false and then click OK, that gets rid of the dots. Marcel, thank you so much for your input. That's the way to do it. All right. Okay. Oh, there's a tool called floating and docking. Gord, do you know where this tool is? I mean, I haven't seen it, or maybe I haven't paid attention, but where is the floating and docking tool that you're referring to? Be interesting. I can, explore that feature if you tell me where it is. I haven't used it. If the feature is inside of the desktop, I haven't used it. So let me know if you see it somewhere, and I can show it right here on my desktop. Upper right corner. Is it this one? Window. Oh, okay. Okay, on the left. Okay, I see it here. So there's a little and this works for the trade bar and the position graph bar. So I see what you're doing. There's a little arrow, if you guys see on the left-hand side, that has the floating and the docking. This controls the way that the bars are displayed on the TradeStation platform, but it doesn't affect the chart. The chart should not have that floating. Do you see the floating and docking on the chart? Because it shouldn't have it. It only applies to the trade bar, the position graph bar, and the apps bar also has that floating and docking menu on the left-hand side. And the floating and docking allows you to configure your platform so that, if you want to have those bars as floating windows, you can. For example, instead of using the trade bar, how do you get the pin to reappear? Let me show you. So let's say, for example, the trade bar. If I go here and I say, I want my trade bar to be floating, notice how now my trade bar is floating, allow me to have it anywhere I want on my TradeStation. I don't know any clients that do this, have the trade bar as a floating window, but as you click on the title bar here and you move it around, you're going to see these layout controls that let you know where the trade bar is going to be positioned. You can position it to the left. You can position it right here on the very top. Even if, right here at the bottom, there's different positions. So what you do is you come over here to this overlay, maybe go a little bit higher. You don't want it right here. You wanted it to go up to where the trade bar is. And you want it to be there. Okay, so make sure that you're dragging it. Let me go make it floating again. So you drag it. Don't put it here. Just continue to drag it. You're going to see another overlay. And then we put it right here. I mean, you can put it in the middle and it'll be added as a tab. That's an interesting layout, but that's not exactly how I wanted it. So let me take the trade and push it out of that as a tab. Click on the title bar, move it up again. Where is it? Okay, let me move it up again and put it right under it. So it's going to take a little bit of playing around, but just look at where the overlays are, and make sure that you drop it where you can see it. Once you drop it, you have those menus back on. All right. Excellent. All right, guys, that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me and making this class interactive. I enjoy the questions a lot. I may have to separate, the getting started class and start doing more of a Q&A session where you guys can come join and ask any questions you guys want. And that way we don't go on a tangent, and deviate from the class content. So let me think about that, and we'll put that in the schedule if we decide to create another session for Q&A. But thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful afternoon, and thank you for your participation. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye, everyone.